Good afternoon, everybody. I'm probably the supply management guy here this afternoon. Certainly, I'm not here to defend the system, but at least we'll try to explain a couple of features of this system and share with you different views on why we have this system. I will first go through who we are, then why we are doing what we are doing, and what exactly we are doing. Then I will cover a little bit trade, international trade, internal trade, give you examples, different examples there. At the end, we'll try to look at what is possible to do more than what we are doing actually to favorize internal trade or interprovincial trade in the country. Do we have to do that? And what need to be changed? So first, who we are. Laurent Pellerin, I'm the chair of the Farm Product Council of Canada. Our council is a body that administers one act, the Farm Marketing Agency Act. This act is divided in three parts. First part is the creation of the council itself. The second part is the most active part of our act. That's the act that permits the creation of marketing agencies. In fact, all commodities in Canada can use this second part of the act. The only commodity that can use this act, one of the paragraphs of this part of the act, to control the volume, to use quota system, are the poultry, different group in the poultry, chicken eggs, turkey, hatching egg, and if you find some others, pullets or poults in Turkey, they can benefit from the quota system, and tobacco sector, but you know where tobacco is today. For all other groups, they can get together, create a marketing agency, get some bargaining authority or other type of activity, but they cannot use the quota system. Part 3 of the Act have been added to the Act in 1993 after a long lobby from the Canadian Cattlemen and the Horticulture Council. In fact, they want the Canadian government to add this chapter to the Act to almost replicate what was adopted in 1985 in the U.S. The possibility to create a research and promotion agency, collect money domestically and internationally on all product coming in Canada to develop research and promotion. Exactly what U.S. is doing in almost 20 different commodities actually when we export pork, beef, different other agricultural products to U.S. We are contributing to the research and promotion levy in U.S. The only one we have under this chapter in Canada is the beef agency, and they only start collecting money or levy on import last January 2014, so only 1 year ago. We just received the figures this morning on what they collect. We're looking at close to $1 million per year only on the import levy. That's very close to what they really collect. So that's this Chapter 3 of the Act. Our council is composed of 7 members coming from agriculture production or agriculture, other stakeholders in the agriculture sector, processors, and it varies depending on the nomination we have. They are all governor and council nomination. I'm the only one that is full-time. All other council members are part-time. Actually, we have a potato producer from PEI, myself from Quebec, I'm a hog and grain producer, so nothing linked with supply management and poultry. And we just recently have a new member, Madame Chantal Donayou from Cargill. So it's difficult to situate Cargill. Are they in chicken, beef, or probably it's better to look at where they don't have activity, probably collect with a lot of activity in agriculture. And we have several other members that are turkey, chicken farmers, or wine and blueberry farmer. Most of them are actually active farmer in Canada. Why this council have been created? First been created in 72, officially in 72, but the act have been adopted in December 71. And why they look at the adoption of this act at that time? They call the situation between the provinces a war, the egg war, the chicken war, and agriculture was developing very rapidly in those communities at that time, and some provinces were dumping product in other provinces, and it was really a war. And it was very difficult for the minister at that time to control or set some rules to calm the play a little bit at that time. Just to give you an idea of the tension they have at that time, the MPs stay in Ottawa between Christmas and New Year, and they adopt this act the 30th of December at 6 o'clock in the morning. They break for an hour and a half to have the Governing Council signature, and they came back in the Parliament to finalize the adoption of this act. So you understand that today, trying to have the MPs in the Parliament between Christmas and New Year, probably quite a challenge. So big tension at that time, certainly under Eugene Willand at that time, a goodwill, a strong will to resolve that situation. What they create at that time? They create a legal tool to harmonize the relation between the provinces. First, they told people at that time, okay, it's enough. What you have as production level, that's what you have. We keep that. We start with that. That's Article 23 of the Act. 23.2 says, in the future, all increased allocation in those sectors need to be split between the provinces on the base of, and the vocabulary, if you look at the Parliament debate and the Agriculture Committee debate at that time, they used different type of word, comparative advantage, competitive advantage, and I knew that you are economists, and during the course of that discussion, I met a couple of your friends, Mr. Ricardo, Mr. Porter, good guys, but I cannot agree with them. And in fact, they cannot help that debate at all. So I read Hélène Davos, who was working for us at the council, went back to the Parliament debate at that time, and they picked up some words. In fact, the ministers, the deputy ministers at that time, what they used was very, very simple. In increased allocation in the future, where is the best place in this country to produce that type of production? Chicken, eggs. Based on where are the best labor costs, feed costs, construction costs, processing activities, things like that. Not very complicated. That's why I love Mr. Ricardo and Porter, because they completely direct that debate completely out of control. So that's exactly what the program did at the beginning. Except that people forgot that Article 23.2, and they ran for almost 40 years, continuing to allocate volume based on historical share only. So that's where we are today. I will come back on this a little bit later. The program at this time promote a big promise that if you work in this system, you will cover your cost of production, plus a reasonable return. Again, a little bit of debate around reasonable return. What is a reasonable return? Still today, we don't have a final answer on that. And in return, there is a commitment from those farmers at that time to deliver at that price, to deliver the product to the processing industry and finally to the consumer. That was the deal at that time. What the system is doing actually during those 40 years. In fact, they started by eggs in 72, officially in 76, turkey. After that, 78 chicken, and 85 hatching eggs. Since that time, no other groups use this act under with quota under supply management. Not because the council never received requests on that. We received requests for potatoes, apple, more recently pullets, but didn't match the basic requirement to create those agencies. When they operate the system, in fact, every year, every allocation period, they have to look at the Canadian market. They have to look at the imports that are coming in Canada. And they have to match those numbers together to make sure that they will produce enough to satisfy the Canadian market. So already there to continue to promote the idea that supply management is not linked with trade, there is a little bit of a mismatch there. First, they agree that some part of the production will come in Canada year after year with no tariffs at all. It's already there in the building of the system. Then, if for different reasons in the management of system, year after year, there's a difficulty to match the numbers to cover the needs of the Canadian market, there is always possibility for a supplementary permit for imports to complete the market. So again, trade is a tool to complete what the program is supposed to do. In fact, we heard in the last presentation discussion on interprovincial trade, free movement of product, those international deals, CETA or TPP. I read a paper prepared by Chicken Farmers of Canada where they measure between the TPP possible partners, because it's not completed yet, that Canada alone, we are not the biggest country in the world, but we are the 50th importer of chicken in the world. And 6 of the actual TPP partners import less than Canada import with the supply management system. So I think, again, we need to look at numbers at reality a little bit more closer before we make a final judgment on supply management that this system cannot take care or take into account those imports, the obligation we have under any trade deal. I will not be very long on CETA because we don't think, and think none of the chicken agencies, the poultry agencies, think that CETA could have an impact in their sector. Differently than dairy, where there is a special increased quota for cheeses. Poultry sector are not facing the same type of challenge for sure. This type of system need to be agreed between the different partners, between the different stakeholders. In the past presentation, you have a couple of words on Canadian Constitution, the right, the difficulty, and everything. Developing and signing an FPA, Federal Provincial Agreement, between the 10 provinces, 11 if you include Northwest Territory, because in eggs they are also part of the scheme. What a challenge. It's almost impossible. And they did that in those 4 sectors. So it's not an easy job. It's a meshing of different authorities. In fact, it's a basic delegation, a mutual delegation, and almost a total mutual delegation of authority from the provincial ag minister and the federal ag minister to the national agency. So it's not a very easy deal. It's not only a gentleman agreement. You understand that it takes months, and that's probably one of the reasons why it's so difficult to change those agreements today. We hear very often the necessity for more flexibility in the system. if we want to add a little bit of flexibility in the system, we probably each time need to modify those federal-provincial agreements, which is a big challenge. I'm not saying that it's impossible. In fact, we work toward this objective in different sectors, but it's really a big challenge. And there's also in those FPA, and that's probably something that nobody, a very little number of persons refer to. There is a paragraph in each of those FPA that prevent the temptation for each of those groups to put in place regulation that will restrict the movement of product between provinces. In fact, it's clearly written in each of the agreements that they cannot adopt regulation that will restrict the movement, the free movement of product between the provinces. And anyway, if they adopt those regulations, that type of regulation, they need to come to the Council for an approval. For sure, the Council will never approve something that it's not permit under the FPA. So, and I would say, having 25 years experience around supply management, never been a supply management farmer, understanding the system, most of the time, I can say very easily that most of the time, a few exceptions in mind where they restrict movement of product between the provinces, but most of the time, this product have completely free circulation between the provinces. So yes, there is always a need to re-sign or redevelop trade agreement between the provinces. But I think there is a real life test to do with those products. In fact, they are moving between the provinces. Are they moving as much as some people expect? Probably not. Are they moving because of the restriction we have in the system? Certainly not. Life, fact of life. You are not taking live chicken in New Brunswick to move them to BC. Impossible. And it's already starting to be difficult for the processors, because in many provinces, the processors are responsible for the transportation of the live animal to the processing plant. And they are facing more and more difficulty to move live animals, live birds, on long distance. We know that it's difficult for beef, pork, but keep in mind, chicken, turkey. So in fact, real tests on a daily basis, you cannot move those animals on a very long distance. Same thing for fresh egg. Cannot take fresh egg somewhere in Canada and move them in any other provinces. Yes, there is a daily movement between many provinces. Between Saskatchewan and Manitoba, you have regular movement of chicken to be processed in Manitoba from Saskatchewan. You have regular movement of chick, just coming out the first day from the hatching eggs, moving from one province to the other. A lot from Quebec hatcheries to Eastern Ontario. Historical language, French connection, French marketing, and all those birds historically went back in Quebec to be processed in Quebec. So this type of movement is there, and that's only a real-life check that people do on a daily basis. There is nothing moving from Western Canada to Eastern Canada. Manitoba, Ontario border, there's no live chicken, turkey, hatching egg moving through that barrier. It's almost impossible physically because in this part of the year, certainly temperature is a big test. Summer, it's really the same type of challenge, so it's not happening. Turkey from Nova Scotia. When the last plant closed, let's say 4 or 5 years ago, they moved turkey to other provinces, mainly to Quebec, for a couple of years. Now they reopened the plant. Turkey stay in Nova Scotia. On a regular basis, year after year, New Brunswick turkey moved to be processed in Quebec. Almost nothing from Quebec and Turkey going to Ontario and vice versa. So yes, there is movement, but it's movement that you can afford and where you don't risk a high percentage of mortality and loss in transport. So that's the. I hope that it's correct a little bit, the perception that many people have that restrictions are built in the system. They are not. And there's other component of system where, in fact, that's completely the opposite that is promoted in the system. In the egg sector, for example, Egg Farmer of Canada is responsible to buy back all eggs that are not needed on the table and market in all provinces, and they move back those eggs where they are needed, mostly through to the processing industry, and mostly the processing industry is in Ontario. A little bit in Quebec, a little bit in Alberta, but mostly in Ontario, a little bit in BC too. All eggs that are produced in Northwest Territory are moved back down to Abbotsford in BC. So yes, there is movement, and that's the responsibility of Egg Farmer of Canada to take care of those eggs that consumers don't want on the table egg market. So it's built in the system. In certain provinces, they used to have what they call plant quota, where they give a guarantee of volume to some processors. We still have that in some provinces. Some people think that it's a restriction to free movement. But if we look at other provinces like BC, they abolished those quota a couple of years ago. And there's no movement of chicken from BC to Alberta or turkey from BC to Alberta. So again, real life test is the most important thing. It's not really that type of restriction. As I said, transportation is probably the most restrictive component of the system today, and animal welfare, for sure, linked with animal welfare. Grading eggs, they have to move. In certain provinces, there's no grading stations. So they have to move to the next province to be grade and market. Again, free movement of those eggs on the market. 1 minute. I took my glass off, so I cannot read that. So what can be done to open again a little bit this trade between the provinces? First, we have to look at the development of the adaptation of those systems in the last couple of years, where they develop a lot of specialty product, especially in eggs, a little bit in chicken, and this product is delivered where it's needed. And on one hand, if the live animals are not traveling a lot, if you look at the further processed product or the whole birds in turkey and chicken, they are moving all over the place in Canada. The wings that you will have on Sunday can come from Alberta, Quebec, Ontario, and partly from U.S. You don't know. So there's a free movement of product with the processed product everywhere in the country. There's no restriction at all on that. Eggs, they move through diversification of their own market, so they show some flexibility in the system when they develop the free range, the organic, the free, the omega-3, and many other specialty products in their sector. We are not responsible for the dairy sector, but there is certainly enough inspiration from the dairy sector, which developed the hundreds of types of cheese in the last couple of years, to pretend that supply management can do the same. The question is, what can we do? What can we change in the regulation to increase interprofessional trade? Probably not that much. What can we use in the actual system to propagate those changes? Probably a better question to increase those movement of product in Canada. And I think that's the type of thing we push with those national agencies. For example, rooms for new farmers that enter into production. Almost all new allocation in eggs will be transferred to farmer at no cost, no value for the quota. They are doing that a little bit in dairy too. So we are looking for that type of decision or movement in other sector. So it is changing. It's moving, and probably that it will not be finished by the signature of TPP. So we certainly have a long road to go before we achieve the final goal on the changes in supply management. Thank you.